You may not know this, but since the beginning, my vision for Stable Moments has been to bring it outside of the stable, outside of the horses, because from the first session year that I had kids in sessions, I had plenty of kids that were afraid to work with horses or just chose to do activities that were non-equine. And I found that the magic of the model, as amazing as horses are, yes, they add that intuitive, that body language, that beautiful piece to the program. But the magic was really the mentorship. And there was no reason why kids in other settings, schools, churches, community-based organizations, nonprofits, there was no reason why those kids could not benefit from community mentorship as well. And it's always my dream to build up communities that take responsibility for their foster youth. And what better way to do that than to show them a way that they can play an active role. But there's not enough therapeutic equine facilities around. Not everybody has horses and not everybody wants to work with horses. And I get that. So this month, in honor of Foster Care Awareness Month, we have launched to schools, community-based organizations, and churches. And all it is a new certification program that allows other settings to get certified in the Stable Moments model. It's the same Stable Moments model. The horses have just been removed. Obviously, we still have our horse training as well. So you'll see on our Get Certified page that there's an option for schools, community-based orgs, and churches. And then there's an option for our equine program. So this is really just an expansion, right? And what's exciting is we've actually done away with our books and our activity packs. Those used to be open to the public, and now they're exclusive to people who want to run a Stable Moments program. We want to make sure if you're getting those materials that you're using them properly, and you do that through getting certified. So now that's actually included in your certification. So if you get signed up to become a program director and you get certified, we ship you the activity pack, the book, the Meaningful Moments cards, so that you are equipped and ready to go. So all really exciting stuff. And so this month, what I wanted to do is go ahead and go through what makes a good mentorship program and what sets Stable Moments apart. And I actually have this as our webinar on the website for anybody that's wanting to spread the word about this model. They should be sending people to this free webinar. So if you go to a church, if your kids go to a school, if you know of a community-based organization that could add programming for foster kids, please send them to our free webinar. That's at stablemoments.com/webinar. But for today, what I'm going to do is actually play the webinar because it is what sets Stable Moments apart. So there are a lot of people out there that come up to me and say like, oh, it's great that you do a mentorship program. We do that at this school, or we have a mentorship program too. But then when I look into their mentorship programs, I get a little nervous because they lack purpose and they lack structure, and I'm nervous that they might do more harm than good because not all mentorship programs are created equal. And it's really important, especially if you are going to put adults with kids, that you have a really structured, trauma-informed, well thought out model. So Stable Moments is actually set apart in quite a few ways, and I just want to make sure that you guys understand what good mentorship looks like, how we can show up for the kids, and why we need all of the elements of the model to be able to play that active role in a really meaningful way and not do more harm. So I'm going to go ahead and roll that intro and then dive right in. I'm Rebecca Britt, and this is the Stable Moments podcast. I started this podcast to understand from all perspectives how we can help end the foster care crisis. The overwhelming response was we need to support our local communities. Unwanted, abandoned, orphaned children are the community's responsibility. We must support, guide, love, invest, raise up generations that will nurture, love, and support their own children to end this crisis. So the purpose of this podcast is to build an army of people that are interested and willing to take responsibility of our foster youth and who are supportive of foster and adoptive families. This is the on-ramp for people who want to get involved but might not know where to start. I want this to be a place where community members feel like they can make a difference, where they feel good enough to make that difference, and believe that they can be a big deal in the life of a child. Thanks for being part of our community. Together we can end the foster care crisis. What you're going to learn is how consistent trauma-informed mentorship can foster resilience and healing in children who have experienced foster care or developmental trauma. And you're going to learn what most mentorship programs miss. You're also going to walk away with a trauma-informed, structured framework that develops life skills for healthy transitions into adulthood. Let's talk about the problem, the foster care crisis. There are approximately 400,000 children in the U.S. foster care system at any given time, and these kids have high rates of trauma, instability, and disrupted attachments. They have been removed from their only caregivers that they know, and they're often bounced around from house to house, and they often suffer from developmental trauma. These kids have adverse outcomes. They are more likely to face homelessness, addiction, incarceration, early pregnancy, and ultimately their kids going into care as well. They lack consistent, safe adult relationships, which impacts their development. The experience of removal alone is traumatic, even when it's necessary for safety. So people can think, oh, well, thank God that kid was taken out of that home, or at least they have a chance now. But it is traumatic regardless. Kids want to be with their parents. They think what they are living in is normal for the most part because that's all they know, and they're being removed from that. Children are often taken from everything familiar, families, schools, pets, belongings, with little notice or understanding. Many enter care with just a trash bag of belongings, if that. And what they face is multiple placements. Children often move from home to home, sometimes dozens of times, and that means different school systems, different cultures, different norms. They miss school, they lose their relationships, they have disrupted developmental milestones. Those are all common. And then they may get supervised visits with their biological families, but that can be confusing, emotional, and inconsistent, offering hope, but it also reopens wounds. Most kids in foster care have developmental trauma. This is caused by abuse, neglect, abandonment, and interrupted attachment to our attachment figures, our parents that are supposed to give us safety and nurturing. This usually happens in utero to 8 years of age, right? So that's why we call it developmental trauma, because it impacts brain development and what we need for emotional processing and cognitive functioning. So as our brains develop, we start in survival mode as just little babies, and the lowest part of our brain, that the one that is responsible for breathing and our instincts, that part of our brain is what we're working with. And it takes nurturing and development and love and being fed and stability for our brain to grow and develop into the parts that understand emotion, emotional processing, understanding empathy, understanding mom has a different experience than I have. Those things like parallel play that kids do are all great for developing their brain and their emotional processing, and eventually their cognitive function, where we can make good decisions, where we can weigh our odds or weigh our risk versus reward, where we can rationalize and we can decide, is this right for me? Is this not right for me? That emotional processing and cognitive functioning all takes a stable environment, a loving, nurturing environment for it to develop properly. And so many of the kids that we see that have been abused, neglected, or abandoned and have developmental trauma have missed a lot of that development. So they are stuck in fight, flight, freeze mode often, or are kicked back to that mode so often throughout their development that their hypervigilance remains in the on position. And this also causes core feelings of worthlessness. So there is research to suggest that a 3-month-old baby in their crib crying because they can't get their diaper changed and they're hungry, they cry. They do not think, oh, mom's out doing the wrong thing again and I should have been fed by now. They start to think as young as 3 months old, I must not be worth care. I must not be worthy of being fed. There's something about me that doesn't deserve love. So this starts to be woven into just the fabric of their being, that they know they aren't worthy of just the basic care and needs. So the hidden need for these kids, well, services and therapy help, but they're not enough. Kids need someone who chooses them. They need to be able to trust adults. They need to know that they can have one stable relationship, and that can change everything. We know from research out of Harvard that one stable relationship that's loving and nurturing and shows up for you over time can give kids the resilience they need to combat their adverse childhood experiences, and so that they can make healthier outcomes and transitions into adulthood. So why mentorship? Well, you can imagine, because that's where that one healthy relationship comes into play. For kids with unstable or disrupted home lives, community mentors can be a stable relationship. It is the community's job. We need to start putting the responsibility back onto our community. When community members find out about kids in foster care or about things that happen to kids in foster care or at the hands of their own parents, the community gets up in arms and we think the system should do more, right? But it's really our job. It is our job to raise the children that are unwanted, neglected, abused, abandoned in our society. But it's tough, right? It's a big ask to ask people, you should be a foster parent. So mentorship is a way that the community can buy in. It is the community's job to raise children in our community that are unwanted and need stable adults. Mentorship allows them to play that active role, and it's not asking too much. It's 1 hour a week, right? So we need to mentor these kids, and mentorship programs allow community members to play an active role without taking on the large commitment of foster care. And this builds an army. The more people that you have in your community that are willing to give an hour a week to mentor a kid, they're understanding the complexities of children in foster care, the complexities of developmental trauma. They're becoming more trauma informed. And with that, they are able to have these conversations within their community. They're able to recruit more people. And you have a whole bunch of neighbors that are willing to not just play an active role, but be supportive of the foster parents, the foster kids, and ultimately they are able to meet the needs of all of community members so that more kids are not going into care. Now, we can all agree that mentorship matters. There are lots of mentorship programs out there, but these kids deserve good mentorship programs, and many programs simply fall short. So where mentorship models fall short are they lack purpose. So before you start any program, you need to decide, like, what's the purpose of this? What are we trying to get out of this? What is our desired result for what population? And so often mentorship programs are kind of thrown together, and because they say mentorship, people kind of assume, well, obviously we're just doing mentorship. So we're going to match up kids and adults and we'll figure the rest out later. But that isn't a great model, and it's not doing best by the kids. They lack individualized goals. So they just kind of let whatever kids in and they let mentors match up with kids, but there isn't a true dive into what is this kids, what's their unique value, what are their strengths, what are their interests, what are their challenges, and how can we meet those? There's a lack of training. So without purpose and without understanding exactly who we're serving, we don't train mentors well, right? We just kind of say we're lucky to get anybody to hang out with kids, and so we take whoever and we don't really train them very well. We lack structure. We don't tell mentors what they're supposed to do. So we're like, yeah, whatever you can come up with, just hang out with a kid. Bring them to McDonald's, go watch a movie with them, be in the community with them. But without that structure, mentors can feel unsupported, like they're not sure what they're doing, and more importantly, they feel like they're not sure what they're getting out of it or what the kid's getting out of it. There's a lack of commitment in a lot of mentorship programs. This can be either the mentorship program is too short, where kids are just starting to get to know a mentor and the mentor's leaving the program, or we just say anybody can sign up and we don't make them commit to a certain amount of time. And then again, kids are facing people abandoning them or people leaving the program when it's not convenient for them anymore. And the kids are facing yet again another disruption. So what makes a good mentorship program? First and foremost, thorough training. Mentors need to know, who are they serving? What is special about this population? How can they serve this population best? They need to be brought through that training. Also, purpose and exclusivity. So you need to understand, why are we doing this mentorship program? What is it? What do kids get out of this mentorship program? What is our desired result for what population? How can we track it and measure it to determine whether or not we are achieving those goals? Also, exclusivity. So many mentorship programs just allow anybody to join. Any kids can join. This is great for everybody, and they're inclusive of everyone. But exclusivity can really drive a program's and mentor's sense of belonging and kids' sense of belonging, because this is where we get to speak to specific needs. So if you are exclusive to a specific population, you can train mentors better because you understand this is the best way, the evidence-based way to intervene or interact with this population. And people understand, this is why I'm doing this. I'm playing a mentor role for this specific population, and I've been trained specifically on this population. When you allow your purpose to be whatever and you include everyone, it can water down the impact that you're trying to make. Structure. You need structure. You need to be able to tell, right down to like, what do we offer? So this is exactly what we offer. Is it 10 months? Is it a year? Is it 12 weeks? Is it 1 hour mentorship? What do we offer? How do we train people? So there needs to be a structured training. What exactly do sessions look like? So what is the structure of your sessions? Do people just show up and it's willy-nilly? Do people start the session with something and end the session with something else? Do you do specific activities? Are there things that you don't do in sessions? You need to think about those session structure so that mentors know what they're doing and people know what to expect. Setting structure and expectations always relieves anxiety for kids and for mentors alike. If you think about anybody, yourself, an employee wants to know, what does it mean to do a good job? Like, what's expected of me? Everybody wants to know what they're supposed to do. So having structure of what sessions look like needs to be first and foremost. And what are unintended consequences? So what might we do that could end up causing more trauma? What are policies we need to have in place so that things that we didn't intend don't happen? Because when we start matching up mentors with kids, there's always opportunity for unintended consequences. And it is our duty and our responsibility to think about those and then put policies in place to make sure that they don't happen. And then our systems and processes. We need to have our systems and our processes in place so that from the moment somebody is interested in joining, whether it's a mentor or a participant, how are they getting enrolled? How are we doing intake? What are the email templates that we send them? What's the pathway for mentors? What's the pathway for kids? How long are kids going to be in the program? How do we track progress? All of that good stuff needs to be set in stone so that people are getting the same experience when they come to your program. So the solution, you may have guessed it, stable moments. We are ending the foster care crisis one mentor at a time. We are a one-on-one mentorship program that's once a week for 10 months. So we run about a typical school year, and it is the same mentor, same kid, 1 hour a week for 10 months. Each kid gets an individualized life skill plan or a plan of care. The plan of care is color-coded for life skills that they are working on. And each session is guided by color-coded trauma-informed activities. This program is designed specifically for children with developmental trauma, and we have a trauma-informed training for all of our mentors. Our purpose is developing life skills for healthy transitions into adulthood. We aim to develop life skills in each kid, and we hope that they will have a healthy transition into adulthood later. We believe that this is what helps end the foster care crisis. If we can pour into and invest in the individual child, we can get them believing that they matter, that they have self-worth, then they may be able to make good decisions. They may think they're worth good decisions. And if they can make healthy transitions into adulthood, then we believe that their kids won't go into care, which will lower the number of kids going into care, meaning that we will help end the foster care crisis. So Stable Moments is for kids aged 3 to 17. They have a history of foster care, adoption, or some disrupted attachment. They struggle with self-worth, emotional regulation, trust, and healthy relationships. And we exclusively serve this population. So I get questions all the time about, Rebecca, this is such a great model, and we think it could be really helpful for other kids. Could we use this model with kids with autism or kids who have divorced parents? And the answer is always no. This program is designed so specifically for kids in foster care or with developmental trauma, and that's what all of our mentors get trained in. It simply would not be fair to kids that have different needs to have mentors trained in one thing and then meet a kid with different needs. The length of our program is 1 time per week for 10 months. Every kid that comes into our program gets an intake assessment. This is designed to start with a relationship. So we talk with the parent. We actually sit down and have a physical conversation with a foster adopted parent or a guardian. And we ask them about the kid's history, why they chose to foster adopt. We build this relationship where we really care about their story. We understand the progress the kid has made. We also ask about their current strengths and interests, their challenges. It gathers this pertinent information that we need to develop the plan of care that we're going to create for each kid. Some common challenges that we've seen, and I have been a social worker for 15 years, and the common challenges that I see in this population are short fuse, all is lost mentality. Oh, never mind. I can't do it. Beating themselves up, emotional dysregulation. They're distracted, hyperactive, easily triggered, lacking critical thinking skills. They lack confidence, lack self-esteem. They need control, struggle to follow through, and they're impulsive. So what I did was create a life skill category worksheet for all of the program directors of Stable Moments programs to use. So basically, when they do an intake assessment with a parent and they start to hear some of these challenges, they can lump them into categories where they understand what life skill areas that kid probably needs to work on. So you'll see impulsivity down here in the self-regulation category, needing control in the responsibility category, negative self-talk in the self-worth. We also have emotional awareness, healthy relationships. So depending on what challenges come up in the intake assessment, we use this worksheet to be able to understand what life skill categories they need to work on. And as you can see, there are 6 color-coded life skill categories. So independence is orange, healthy relationships is purple, emotional awareness is yellow. We have self-worth, responsibility, self-regulation. So then we use these to develop an individualized plan of care for each kid. They're designed to identify specific life skill goals for each participant. They have a blurb and a concern, some objectives, a short-term goal and a long-term goal, but they also have these focus colors. So like I talked about, if this is self-regulation and responsibility and healthy relationships, red, blue, and purple, later when we talk about activities that are color-coded, a mentor would just know, hey, I should probably lean on some activities that are blue, purple, or red, and I will know without being clinical that we are being trauma-informed and we are helping that kid learn life skills that are particular to them. Mentors, they are the magic of our model. The kid gets the same exact mentor each week. This builds trust and healthy long-term relationships, that resilience that we're talking about. And it really shows the kids someone who cares, and it promotes the I matter factor. We know that many kids that have developmental trauma have core feelings of worthlessness, and we believe that kids need to learn that they matter before we can expect them to learn anything, before we can expect them to make good choices. So pouring into them is the way to show them that they matter, and there's no better way than showing up every single week and saying, hey, I value our time together. I'm here for you. For the mentors, it's not about being a therapist. It is just about showing up. We are non-clinical. We are hanging out with kids in a very structured way, but we are hanging out and having fun with kids. Mentors are trained. They have a 3-hour online trauma-informed training. Then they get trained at their facilities, and program directors are trained to support mentors in their role. So mentors never feel alone. It's one mentor, one child, 1 hour a week, very consistent. And everyone has a role in caring for unwanted, neglected, and abused children. So this gives them the on-ramp to do so. Then we have our color-coded life skill activities. So during mentor sessions, they're actually broken into a 3-part plan: connection, life skill development, and transition. But during the life skill development part, we have these color-coded activities. They're designed to promote life skills. They're chosen for those individualized goals. They make each session trauma-informed. They help guide mentors, and they promote discussions. When I first started Stable Moments, we didn't have color-coded activities. And I found mentors were at a loss of what to do, or even if I gave them an activity, they would quickly say like, okay, we did that, and there wasn't much talking. So I found that this level of structure is really helpful for mentors so that they can focus on an activity. Kids can work on follow-through, they can work on planning and executive functioning, but all of our activities are made for the 6 different life skill categories. So each one focuses on something different. But it has directions that they can walk through, and discussion questions that really facilitate that rich discussion, not just yes or no questions, but open-ended questions so that they can get a dialogue and a relationship going with the kid. Then we have activity logs. So every time a mentor has done a session, they need to fill out an activity log. This tracks progress towards the plan of care goals. So each mentor has to write down what was their 3-part plan that day. They have to write down the goal from the kid's plan of care. And they also need to write a log on how did your plan help you work on your goal from the plan of care. This is completed by mentors after every single session. And then program directors use all of that amazing qualitative data to develop progress summaries. It's completed by the program director at the mid and the end point so that we can be tracking progress and how we're working towards our short-term and our long-term goal. And it includes feedback from the mentor and parents or other close care team members so that we can be collaborative. We also collect quantitative data through pre- and post-test assessment. So we have a Stable Moments life skill assessment that all locations get, and every parent fills this out at the beginning and the end of sessions. It's the same exact assessment, but what we do is we compare pre-test data to post-test data and see if the child has made any gains on their self-worth scores, their responsibility scores, self-regulation, emotional awareness. We have our 6 life skill categories. Each has 4 questions in the assessment, and we can compare the pre to the post to see how effective our program has been. The ripple effect. Self-worth is the foundation of resilience. Life skills like emotional awareness and healthy relationships really help kids thrive. And when kids believe that they matter, they transition into adulthood with stability. And that's how we prevent the next generation from entering care. I know that we want these big blanket policies to just fix everything, but the truth is it's as simple and as hard as we actually have to invest in the individual child to make real lasting change. So you have an opportunity to become a location. Stable Moments is easy to implement anywhere. Schools, we have schools doing this program, and they're actually doing it during the school day. So mentors are coming in when we know that the kids are there and there's still one-on-one mentorship. They just grab their kid and their activities and they go into different areas of the classroom. We have schools that are doing this and having great success with it. Faith-based organization, churches can launch this program, and churches should launch this program. If you are a church and you're not doing something for orphans, kids in foster care, you need to be. And if you are just supporting foster families, that's great, but this is a great way to get members of your community actually plugged in and pouring into kids in foster care. Community-based organizations, so any nonprofit that wants to add additional programming and serve kids in your community, this is a great plug and play option for you. And then, believe it or not, we also have a whole equine certification program. So anybody that has an therapeutic equine facility and wants to do an equine assisted learning program that matches up foster kids and community mentors at their stable, we have an equine program as well. That's actually how Stable Moments started. That's why it's called Stable Moments. And our equine facilities can get certified, and we have a whole program for them. Location benefits. So this is a plug and play model. There is no reinventing the wheel. Everything you need, we have created for you, and we will train you in it. We give you all of our administrative assets. So all of the paperwork that you need, the mentor application, the paperwork, the intake assessments, the plans of care, all of those administrative assets, not only do we give you, but we also train you how to develop those. Media assets. We have a whole bunch of social graphics. We have all sorts of marketing, emails, copy and paste things that you can send out to promote your program and to make sure that you are enrolling mentors and kids in the program. We have fundraising tools. This is a very fundable program, right? We have locations getting funding all the time and winning grants for this program. We just had a program this week that got $30,000 for their Stable Moments program. So we actually give you grant language. We give you a social media campaign, a monthly giving campaign to help you raise funds for this program. You get added to our locations community. So we have a community online where people can post, add questions. You can see how other people are doing their Stable Moments. You all get to connect together. We have challenges, and it's a fun community to be a part of and to feel supported and like you're not alone in launching this. You get listed on our website. So when somebody wants to enroll a child, they'll see that you're a location and they can connect with you directly. We train your mentors for you. This is probably the biggest benefit. So when you become a location, you actually get unlimited access passes to our mentor training online. So you send the mentors through this 3-hour trauma-informed training, which takes the trauma-informed part off of you and frees you up and allows our mentors to get that really consistent training. So the location pathway is, first you get certified. So you go through our 10 to 14 hour online certification program. Then you sign a license agreement, and the license agreement basically just says if you're going to use the Stable Moments brand and you are going to say you're a Stable Moments location, then we want to make sure that you are following our model. So you're going to have every kid gets an intake assessment, every kid gets a plan of care, every kid has one-on-one mentorship. We don't want to see that people aren't following the steps. We also don't want to see our program advertised in ways like that it's group therapy or it's not for kids in foster care. So the license agreement is basically just saying if you're going to use the brand, you're doing the program that you see in one area is the same program you see in another area. Then you sign up for your member portal. So getting certified does not make you a location, but you have to be certified to become a location. So the certification is an individual professional certification that you, the individual, gets. And then the organization can sign the license agreement, and you can sign up for a member portal for the organization to become a location. The member portal is where you get all the administrative assets, all those marketing assets. You get the online training for your mentors. You get that community of other locations. And then you're ready. You get to launch your program. When you sign up for your certification program, we send you all of our color-coded activities. And these are laminated. So they're like laminated activities. And we have found that these are the best. This is the best way to deliver our activities so that mentors can actually take them with them out into the field or into the classroom or wherever they are, and they don't get too banged up. People like physical items. We also have our Meaningful Moments cards. These are cards that are have questions to help develop life skills and spark meaningful conversations, and they are broken out into our 6 life skill category areas. You get access to that online mentor training. And what's beautiful about it is you can tell the mentor, hey, so glad that you're interested in becoming a mentor. You need to go take your mentor orientation training and let me know when you've completed that, and we'll move on with the process. And they will send you their certificate of completion. So this just puts a little bit more onus back on the actual mentor, and it takes more work off you. But then, once they send the certificate of completion, not only do you know that they've gone through our trauma-informed training and that they've received the knowledge that they need to work with these kids, but they've also passed a significant test on commitment. You know that they're a pretty committed mentor when they were willing to sit through and complete a 3-hour trauma-informed training. So you're ready to create your village. 1 child, 1 hour a week, 1 life change. And we need to start with changing individual lives if we're really going to move the needle on the foster care crisis. You have everything it takes. Okay, when I came to this, I had imposter syndrome. I was nervous, but you know what I found out? Kids just need healthy adults to care about them, and we can do that. Yes, there is a lot to this model so that everybody can be super successful and that we can show up for these kids in a way that is trauma-informed and not causing more trauma and developing life skills. But with this program, you have everything it takes to launch a meaningful program for kids in your community. And you can create a hub where community members can make a difference and kids learn that they matter. You can check out more information about getting certified below. I hope you will join us, and whether or not you're in a position to launch a program, you can become an advocate and a champion for this program. If you know a school, a church, a community-based organization, please share this with them. This webinar is free, and I envision a world where our community takes responsibility for our foster youth. I have been in this for 15 years, and we continue to talk about the same number of kids in care. We continue to talk about the same foster care crisis, and I'm over it, and I'm not going to wait around for sweeping policy changes. We need to take accountability for the kids in our communities, and this way, everybody can play an active role. So I hope you can really understand how all the elements of our model really set us apart. And if you do not currently run a program, what I want you to do, I need your help. I need you to help spread the word. So you can go to stablemoments.com/champion, and I give you exactly what you need to spread the word about the Stable Moments model. We've got to get it out there. What if every kid in care had an opportunity to have a mentor that had gone through trauma-informed training and was willing to show up for them for 1 hour a month? And we can do it now that the model has been expanded. So all you need to do is think of who in your community could launch a program like this. Might you even be willing to run it on a volunteer basis and get certified and then tell that organization, like, listen, I'm certified and I'm ready to run it. We should launch this here. I even give you the copy and paste language that you can send to people in your community. It's a small thing to do, but just spreading the word is really how this gets started. Okay, so again, you can go to stablemoments.com/champion and send people to that free webinar. That's at stablemoments.com/webinar, or just go on our homepage, stablemoments.com, and it shows the webinar right there. So thank you. Thank you for being a champion for kids in our communities, and we need you, and I'm excited for this expansion, and it's only upwards from here. I just can't wait to see all the kids that are going to be served in communities like yours.